Blakey and Tux, they're talking Cardiff City and some other stuff. Blakey and Tux, Dolly asked the questions on Blakey's boot room. Will always be blue.
Hello, welcome to Blakey's Boot Room. Cardiff City on the agenda. I'm Gareth Rogers. I'm back for a third week in a row with Nathan Blake and Steve Tucker. We're talking Cardiff City and things are not getting any brighter, unfortunately. 2-0 defeat at home to Derby. Steve, what was your take on it?
Okay, but what do you want, the good news or the bad news?
Let's start positive.
No, well, I thought the good news. I thought they gave a couple of debuts and changed the shape a bit, and I thought they actually looked a little better than they had. Yeah. Particularly in that second half, say again a Blackburn in the cup, which was a bit. There was an improvement, but. It's got the good news out the way. I mean, but again, it still wasn't good enough. I know it's Derby. I know they're arguably the best side in the league. Know they look like they're going to go up. You know, for them to throw it away. I don't think they got out of second gear. Derby. I think they were in cruise control. I mean, I actually thought Steve McLaren afterwards was he was a little bit kind of like sheepish about it. He was sort of like, well, we didn't play at our best. But, you know,
Simon Moore saved the penalties, didn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean, they saved the penalty and still...
He was angry at the fact that they slackened off in the second half.
But still Cardiff looked clueless as to break them down. And I mean, I said it in the match pro again, that's the problem. I mean, it's mind-numbingly boring and dull, direct football, but the worst aspect is that it's completely ineffective as well. You wouldn't, you know, like Stoke, always people used to say, it's boring.
Yeah, but you've got to be hard to beat.
Wimbledon. Exactly. Wimbledon. Remember Wimbledon back in their day, or they're ruining the game? They still got results. Cardiff look dreadful and are rubbish.
I mean, Steve,
a double whammy of complete badness.
You mentioned Steve McLaren and Blakey. He came up with some strong words saying Cardiff could do a Wolves. They could go straight down.
It's a possibility. It's never outside the realms of possibility. But I think, like I said to Tuxin yesterday, I think the saving grace for Cardiff would be that there's 3 other worse teams than us in the league.
Yeah, the worrying thing is though is that this R word keeps coming up every week now, doesn't it? We've sat here for the last 3 and it's come up every time.
It will.
And things are not getting any better.
It is drifting towards it. We are drifting towards it. But like I said, Tux, I don't think we'll get ourselves out, so to speak. I think others will play themselves into it. I don't think they're good enough to get out of it either. Do you know what I mean? So it's not a case of we'll play our way out over a period of time. Listen, mate, it's gonna be a struggle from now to the end of the season because you don't know where you're gonna get confidence from. You don't know what kind of a result you need. You come up against the best teams in the league. And they cruise to a victory over you, or you start playing when you're 2 and 3 goals down. You come up against the average teams in the league, and they pass you off the park. Really, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the big talking point. Stephen Wayne's alluded to it here. Kenwyne Jones left out.
Unbelievable.
Can you begin to explain that one?
Unbelievable.
I thought it was extra. I think like everybody thought. You know, I saw the team sheet. I was like, well, hang on, this is a guy top scorer with 6 goals in 8 games. I mean, afterwards, Russell Slade said something about Alex Ravel, you know, who worked hard. Let's be fair. I'm not having a go at Alex Ravel. He was there and he put himself about a bit. But you know, you got a red hot striker like Kevin Judge. Russell Slade was talking about, well, Alex Ravel fitted our system we were playing, our formation, our way we were approaching game. He filled that better, which just begs the question of me. Well, really, you got a red hot striker there. Shouldn't you be thinking about building the system around him to accommodate him, rather than saying, I'm doing this system, sorry, you're not part of that. I think it's extraordinary.
Spark in it.
Well, exactly. You know, I mean, the only guy capable of putting the ball in the net right now. So Russell Slade's not helping himself with stuff like that because he's leaving himself open to massive criticism. Great, you know, if Alex Ravel scores hat-trick and they beat Derby 3-0, everyone's like, well, Slade, God, he knows what he's doing. Didn't happen. It's the reverse. So here we are questioning his
what I notice in his interview after was him saying that you know, he had played a certain system to have the wingers to run into the flanks and have that space down the flanks, and then later on when he's questioned about Ravel and big man Kenwyn, he starts saying well, Ravel runs into those channels where Kenwyn doesn't. Well, you got one striker. You're not playing into. If you're playing 4-4-2, you might say one of your strikers does that channel run. But the way you're playing with one brick wall up front to play off. Yeah, really. And if you're going to play anyone, it's going to be in behind. You haven't got the players we've already noted. Hence why Lefondra's gone to run in behind him. So, who's the best man for that job? You got your wingers to do the flank work. You don't, and your full-backs. You don't need a striker. That's so, like yesterday thinking, I need my striker to do those channel runs. The game's changed. It doesn't, you know, we need to adapt. And you know, at the end of the day, you can't justify when you're a struggling team leaving the only person who looks like he's going to get you a goal, and is probably the biggest threat in this league, and helps your team gain momentum going forward because he's so powerful up in the air. You can't justify leaving him on the bench.
Well, very simply, just looking at it, you've got one striker who was playing in the Premier League last year, one striker who was playing in League One last year. And the guy that was playing in League One gets the nod. Now, I'm not saying he's not a better player or anything.
I am.
But
I'm saying he's not a better player.
You're the only guy who's not saying that.
I'll say he's not a better player than... Yeah. I think he would admit and accept that he's not a better player than Kenwyn. If he does, great, confidence, I love that. If you think you're a better player than Kenwyn Jones, okay, I would expect that of you as a player, but the overwhelming opinion is that he's not. But hey, you can't make this about Ravel. It's not about him. This is about the manager and decisions that he's taking. Yeah, whilst you're drifting the wrong way down the table, like that gap, we're on 34 points. That gap of those teams behind us we were talking about two weeks ago has closed somewhat again. They've all picked up a point or three over the last 2 games. It was 11 points, wasn't it? Now we're sitting here and it's like it's 7.
Right. A couple of weeks' time we'll be sitting here going...
Well, I said by mid-February, we'll be 3 or 4 points, maybe 5 points outside the relegation zone, I felt, the way we're playing. And we're on course to meet that, unfortunately.
Well, Steve Blakey says let's not make it about Alex Ravel. Well, let's make it about Alex Ravel. Do you think you'd be shocked to be named in the team ahead of Kenwyn Jones?
I would imagine so, as Blakey said.
No, he wouldn't be, because he's been bought. So he's been bought, and how it goes is the manager would have had conversations with him and what have you before he bought him. Yeah. And you'll be my number one striker. You're what we need. Blah 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 blah. The problem is, okay, he's just not a better player than what you've already got. And last week you're saying in the paper, if it was true, quoted saying hands off Kenwyn. You know, if that's the case, if you're not going to play him and he's in such red hot form, sell him, get some money, and reinvest.
Well, I'm not sure Slade has been that big a fan of Kenwyn Jones anyway. Because let's not forget when he first arrived. That was his preferred strike force. Was Makeda and Lafondra with Kenwyn Jones. I know at that point hadn't Kenwyn Jones been back to Trinidad for some problems.
But he was never. For me, he was the way he started this season, pre-season. There was no one better than Kenwyn Jones. If you're gonna play with 2 wide wingers, and 1 man up front, which is what everyone's tried to play, there's no better foil. He's the best man for the job by far. He's fitter this season. He started well. Even come off the bench, he wasn't coming off and sulking. He was coming off, getting the goal almost instantly.
Well, he almost scored.
He was changing the momentum of the game when he was coming on, even if we were 2-0 down. You know, he'd come on, frighten defence to death, and all of a sudden the ball, the momentum would swing the other way, go forward. Everyone's on the front foot. What happens is sometimes managers sign players who they've worked with before, love those players, and are so blinkered to what's going on around them, they refuse, and it ends up costing them their job. Now, Russell needs to watch that doesn't happen, because what happens is when everyone else can see, like, that's you know, that doesn't make sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That doesn't really make sense. Like I said, it's not about the boy Ravel.
No.
He's doing what he's doing. He's been bored. He's being selected. He plays, as far as he's concerned, just gets on with it.
Yeah.
But he's going to have to go some to be able to dispel the myth of Kenwin, who sat right behind you. Every time he comes on, he either scores or looks like he's going to score within 10 minutes.
He changed the game Saturday. He changed the momentum of the game, didn't he, Steve, Saturday?
The most dangerous moment, like 30 seconds after coming on. It's... I mean, Russell Slade, I mean, in many ways is his own worst enemy with decisions like that. I mean, after the game as well, he's very dismissive of, we're not in a relegation fight. You know,
he needs to be careful with that.
Exactly. I mean, he must be perhaps the only guy in Cardiff who doesn't think they're in a relegation fight, which is a worrying situation, because
that's a prod that the team might need. You might need to tell, oh, fellas, if you're not careful, we're going to be in this relegation zone in the next 5 games if you're not careful. It's no good pretending like it's not happening. If you were playing this, we've said before, if the performance was good and things was going in the right direction, you could say, well, I ain't really that worried, because we'll start picking up wins sooner or later the way we're playing. The way we're playing, no one sees a win come in.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know where the points might come from, because they need some points.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the table and look at history of what is required to stay in the division,
at least 16, 17
they're
more
not on
points.
course.
We'll have a good look at that.
Yeah,
now.
we'll have a look at that.
Greg is just asking,
Gregory,
why bring on Adeyemi when we're 2-0 down? And you got, you know.
Greg, man, I'm not laughing. I'm laughing because it's like you're stating such. It's true.
Yeah.
We can all see it.
You know, Tom Adeyemi's a good player, but he's not a player that's going to change a game. He's,
he's the legs in the team. I don't, even the lad report from Crystal Palace, I would say, okay, then, if you played him, I'd play him and Adeyemi, and I would have gone and tried to get a creative midfielder. Whether that's one who's going to play in advance with those two sitting deep, or one that sits, one of those sits deep and Adeyemi runs on, or the other lad runs on with a creative player in behind like Kenwin or Ravel. But I don't quite understand why, because he showed to me in 1 or 2 games that he did play, when he started to get confident, he was anticipating the knockdown, the second ball, winning, driving through, getting the ball, either running on towards goal and shooting, or spreading out wide. Now those things, you can't afford to sit those things on your bench. You can't.
Greg mentions Federico Makeda because he was sat on the bench, doesn't get used when you're 2-0 down. Now what's that saying to Federico Makeda?
Well, it's all upside down, isn't it? You think if you're 2-0 down, you put a striker on and go for it. Yeah, just go for it. Go 4-4-2, bang, 2 strikers.
Yeah.
Say to your wingers, push right up. Or 4-2-4 effectively, you go.
It strikes me as the striker Makeda would have nothing to lose in that situation because you're 2-0 down anyway. Okay, he's bang out the
What
form,
we did say, Gaz,
then was brought Adam Lafondra on.
what we did
If he
say,
wasn't
Gaz,
100 miles away.
is once all the blue change and all that, there was going to be a lot more scrutiny on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and decisions that the manager was making. And now this is it. Do you know what I mean? And tactically is where I think we are short at the moment. I don't know if the training ground work is it might be being put in, but if I'm going to London, I'm travelling up the M5, I might get to London, but I'm going the wrong way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I need to be on the M4. So they might get there, but it's going to take them an awfully long time, and they're going the wrong direction right now, for me anyway.
We'll have a look in a minute at some of the players they might possibly look to bring in on deadline day today. But
it's deadline day.
And a few other interesting points with the backroom staff and what have you. But first of all, Steve, you've been doing some research today on what it might take.
Don't look so shocked. I am capable of research.
What it actually takes to avoid relegation in the Championship.
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking back over the years,
isn't it?
and I mean, it's no big secret. I think 50 points.
Yeah, 51.
Is really the holy grail. I think the average over the last 10 years of the Championship is like 49.7.
Can you believe we're actually having this conversation now?
I know. Well, I put that in the management. I said I can't actually believe. I didn't think, it's like, you know, when you sort of get drunk and you send like a load of text to your ex-girlfriend, you know, like saying, I love you,
you text me at 4 in the morning sometimes. And I say, oh, text, why did you text me last night?
And the next day you look at them and you feel really embarrassed, you know, and all that. Well, that's how you know, when you talk about, is this the best squad in the championship? And,
listen, on paper, it was a fantastic squad.
You know what, last summer seems like a million years ago. It's like I can't hardly imagine. To be in this situation now, and I mean, irrespective of what Russell Slade says, they are in
it's happened before.
A very precarious...
McLaren is 100% right.
I agree with Blakey in that, I mean, you said this to me yesterday as well. Blackpool, you'd have to think are virtually gone almost. I mean, they're cut going adrift. Despite the efforts of our old friend Malky Mackay, I think Wigan are looking very precarious as well. So in many ways, you're just looking for that one place on the trapdoor left. So that's the good news. The bad news is, as Blakey said earlier as well, you look around and you wonder where are Cardiff's points going to come. That's the worry. The performances are so poor that you just wonder what, you know, they're on 34 points now. Okay, they're going to, you know, looking at, you know, really 14, 15 points, 15, 16 points.
They need to eat. Do you know what? What needs to happen? If I'm Russell Slade now, I say, right, like I've been saying about a moment, a starting point, and it's not happened, right, going forward at all. So I say, right, first and foremost, before we get to the end of February into March, and then I've got like 6 or 7 or 8 games to go, let me do it now with 15 games to go. How many games to go? 15? 16?
No, 18.
18 games to go, yeah? So literally a third of the season. Let me say, right, hard to beat, set out our stall. Fellas, this is what we're going to do. We're going to drop deep. And we're just going to counter-attack. We're going to leave Kenwyn up on his own. We're going to leave Ravel up on his own. You're going to have to battle. Adiemi, you're going to be the first player to release because you've got the legs to Kenwyn. And then my 2 wingers, you're going to, you know, you're going to burst. We're going to play basically with just you 4 will go and play. And the rest, the back 4 and 2 old midfield, you're just going to sit. But we're going to become rigid, hard to beat, and we're going to get 0-0, 0-0, 1-0.
I'm really looking forward to it.
But do you know what? You have to, if you don't wake up and look at the problem for what it is, trust me, bigger clubs in Cardiff have thought, nah, not me, Gov. And the trapdoor has opened. Trust me. It's plenty. We just look at history. Right, yeah? I think like 80%, 90% of the clubs in the Championship at the moment have been in the Premier League already. There's only about 4 or 5 teams that haven't. So it's happened, and there's clubs in League One as well who've had their time at the top. So you need to be really, really careful. It can happen, but this denial, going like, no, it's not going to happen to me, Gov. Hey, listen, for me, I just set my stall out not to get beat and start trying to pick up a point. Home, away from home, whatever. Sheffield Wednesday prime, start him. Right.
Well,
no pressure to win, go and get a point.
This February is going to be a massive, I mean, it's going to give them clear indication of whether they are really in a relegation fight or not, because I mean, we said there's 18 games left, 6 of those are in February now. Kind of, they got like Saturday, Tuesday. It's a real, you know, kind
it's
of
a dogfight.
Yeah, it's a real. It's games just bang, 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 and the nature of those games is so big. I mean, you say Sheffield Wednesday, okay, they're above Cardiff.
Yeah.
The next home game, home to Brighton. I mean, that is monumental. It's in that.
Here we go, 6 point time coming up.
That is like, you know, if say they go to Hillsborough and they lose, which is very possible.
And then Brighton come and beat us.
Crikey, if Brighton were to come and win there, suddenly then you're just like, whoa, hold on.
Teams below us is a problem.
Well, they got Wigan this month.
Lost, but they're picking up a point or 2 here and there. They're capable of picking up a point because they're not struggling confidence. They just not got the player qualities. But Chrissy Powell's got them picking up enough points to keep their head above water. So teams like Huddersfield picking up points, teams like Leeds picking up points, they're more than capable of picking up a win. They won on the weekend. These teams that are below you, all of a sudden, it seems okay because you're 13th around 34. But if you look down the table, there's 5 or 6 teams below you. And if they win and you continue losing over the next 2 or 3 games, it's going to drop not 1 or 2 places, 5 or 6 or 4 or 5 places. All of a sudden then, you pick up the paper Sunday and you're like 18th or 17th. then it's panic stations.
The problem-
What happened to the positivity that
Well,
we started?
I
started the show with. It's gone. It's evaporated.
The problem I have is we sat here last week talking about football philosophies and entertaining the crowd, and we spoke back to your day when you said Eddie just told you to go out and play and all that. Now we're saying, you know, the desperation time, we're going to shut up shop. The crowd are already booing the team off.
The problem is they're not capable of shutting up shop.
Yeah.
That's the word. That's what I'm saying.
That's the problem with it.
We're opened up too easy. That is the problem. We're opened up too easy if we're playing defensively
and
we can't score goals in open play going forward. So one or the other, like we said a couple of months ago, one or the other's got to give. Yeah, winning away from home or losing at home, one or the other's got to give. So for me, we're at that crossroads again, where you got to decide whether we're gonna go and press people and try and win the ball high up, closer to their goal, and play expansively, or we're gonna shut up shop and go close down from halfway line. When the ball gets to halfway line, then we're gonna start the press and close down, and we're not gonna let people get in behind us. Now,
they're not even doing
we're not
that.
we're not doing that right at the moment. They're not capable of doing it. Teams open them up too easy, and you got to take into account it's still not a settled 11. There's 2 or 3 changes again. Do you know what I mean? Lafondre's gone.
Yeah,
you know, Ravel's in. The fullbacks have changed. The centre backs have changed. O'Keefe came in. Do you know what I mean? So you really, we've been in this transition, and I would say the transitional period is so important from manager to manager. That the new manager needs to get in, get his squad, get them all settled down, utilise who he needs to utilise, pick who he's going to pick, and then go with it.
Yeah.
What's happened is he's done that, possibly too early for me, but then he's gone back outside the squad to bring people back in and put people out in the stiffs who he did want originally, and then everyone's like, you don't know what you're doing.
Back to a year ago again. Nobody knows whether they're playing, what position they're playing.
It's not a great time to be transitioning, is it?
No.
It's like a really
January
dodgy,
never is.
It's a dodgy time to be doing it, and I mean,
thinking this thought process. I love the way, and it's in hope more than anything. People think, transfer window's open. We'll sign a few players. We'll be all right. Well, signing a few players, actually, I always say, is probably the worst thing, because any player who's decent isn't coming to your club. So he's a player who hasn't played for a couple of months. He comes in, he's not up to speed, and he's coming into a team who's lacking in confidence.
Yeah. Let's go straight on to the new boys. We had two debutants on Saturday. Lee Peltier and Stuart O'Keefe.
Yes.
What were your thoughts?
I thought Peltier looked half decent. I thought he looked okay. I mean, he's like, obviously slipped in at right back with John Brayford had gone, and I think he's kind of like, he's maybe not got the finesse that Brayford kind of had, or the poise, but he's got a bit more bite about him. You can see why Russell Slade likes him. He's like kind of like, a kind of heart on the sleeve, kind of like bang in and all that, And I thought he had a reasonable debut. O'Keefe I thought was a little bit difficult because of the role he was playing there, kind of two in front of the back four really, and he didn't catch the eye as much, but. I mean...
See, let me just say, when people say, I'm going to play a 4 and then a 2 and then a 1, and I always say, it's not something that you can just say to the players tomorrow, we're playing a 4-4-2, we're playing a 4-3-3, we're playing a 4-5-1. Listen, the work that goes in, the dedication, so I say, you've got to have 1, 2, maybe a third system that your players can really adapt to during the season. But you can't just be flippant about it. You can't go from a 4-4-2 to a 4-5-1 or 4-3-3 without actually putting the work in on the training ground. And I mean, it's so boring what you have to do, because it's just shape. But
so what was this midfield shape on Saturday?
I don't know.
You talk about the change of shape. What actually was it?
Well, it's kind of like Ravel up top on his own, and then a kind of 3. What would you say? 1, 3, 2, 4. 4.
With Whittingham playing as the advanced.
The advanced. But that's been tried already. I mean, he said it was.
Well, Ross comes in with a fantastic point. He says, "Why let Kim and Darley leave and then play Whittingham as your number 10?"
We did say that last week.
It's incredible.
Well done, Rob.
So I mean, he's straight. I mean, he's 4-4-2 all the way along, and then suddenly, We get Kenwyne Jones dropped.
Well, this is the problem. It's exactly as Blakey says. There seems to be no method to the madness. It's things being thrown in there, a new signing here, a new formation there. And, you know, you worry that it's not terminal because nothing seems to be able to give them a lift.
Nothing can catch at the moment.
No,
it's not being given time.
I mean, you say this is a new shape. They look shapeless. You say these new players are coming in. They're coming in and look. You know, I say Peltier looked quite good, but again, he just slipped into the kind of average feel that's dogging the whole side by now. And really, I mean, we're looking at you know, stats and games. 18 games left. Cardiff have won 1 in the last 9. On that form, there's 2 more wins in the season. Well, that is that. I don't care about anybody saying other teams are worse, are going to get them out. If they carry on the way they're playing now, that's why. I mean, for me now, this Brighton game is just absolutely horrific. It's just such a massive thing because, yeah, I think if they beat Brighton at home, they'll stay up. But if they don't,
talk about
I think they could. That would be the catalyst to them absolutely slipping into the mire.
Well, Keith has come with a great point, saying Millwall have just signed Tong from Leeds. You can see them going up the table and being hard to beat at home. And it's true, isn't it? Sides will sign players. Sides will improve.
Yeah.
Not every
the only
side
thing about
is going to lose every game.
I know the manager, when he gets into that situation where he can't seem to get out of a rut, he kind of, his personality goes down, if you know what I mean. So don't forget, Millwall at the start of the season, he was talking about promotion. Yeah.
Hey, mate, hang on, Cardiff City we're talking about.
Yeah, we were talking about promotion.
Crazy time.
Yeah, as were Wigan, of course. And it's, like I say, you know, the Championship, it's so hard, mate. It's really, really difficult. So
it's fascinating. We're talking about solutions, and we were talking after the show last week about potential solutions, bringing new people into the backroom staff to maybe give Russell Slade a bit of experience, a few fresh ideas. And Wayne and Paul have both written in. Wayne says bring in Craig Bellamy onto the staff as Slade's number 2, and Paul says bring in Eddie Newton, who was, funny enough, the guy we were discussing last week. Do you think either of those could make an immediate impact?
Well, I wouldn't say bring in Craig Bellamy because Craig isn't. Craig would be first to admit. I've spoken to Bellas. He's first to admit he's not experienced enough. You know, it's the same I say with Scott Young. No, he's not. You know, number 2, number 1, a manager will motivate you, and some managers coach. But number 2 is the coach and the go-between between you and the manager. And it's not. You know, people say, "Oh, just change it." It's not something that's just done like that. You look at Scott Young. You look at Youngie's record outside of football. I think it's Porth and another
Paul Talbot.
Paul Talbot. And he struggled at them both with the budget in those leagues. You know, so that says, are you a good number 2? Or a good number 1? Well, he struggled. He struggled now as in the professional ranks, and he struggled outside in the semi-professional ranks. So I would say, as for Craig, I would say maybe in like a year or 2, maybe 2 years, I would say Craig would be looking to come into that sort of position of prominence, because it is a major position. Might not seem outside, but in the professional, in the changing rooms, you know, you bring in someone who we think is, as a player, I think he's Mickey Mouse. Trust me, it won't be just me. Everyone will think he's Mickey Mouse.
Well, you say that about the time.
Oh, that's a Mickey Mouse decision. But Eddie Newton wouldn't come as a number 2. No. Eddie Newton's got more than Russell Slade. I'll give you that right here, right now. Eddie Newton would jump over Russell Slade's head, tactically, coaching, everything. So
you wouldn't come in as a number 2. You say that about Bellas, like he needs years to settle.
Well, that's what the game does need. You do need years. You do need years. Well, you can get an exceptional. You can get an exceptional, but we're not in a position where you can take that risk. You're not in that position, Tux. You can't say you got to. You know, you almost got to get the next appointment right. Yeah, because you can't. You've got no leeway. You've got no room for manoeuvement. You can't say, "Oh well, if it doesn't, we're okay." Because if it doesn't, if that next move is wrong, you're gone.
One thing I would say,
as I said to you, the only good thing is they do go down to League One. They got the perfect manager in Russell Slade, haven't they? I mean, that's a good. He knows that division like the back of his hand. You know, so let's look on the. That's another positive for you there.
What I like particularly about the two names mentioned, though, is that they're both legends and they're both very popular among the fans. I mean, if either of those two came in, it would just give the place a lift, surely.
Yeah, but it's not about giving the place a lift. It's about what work you do on the pitch. Right, so it's, right, Eddie Newton, has he got the capabilities to be able to coach our team into a position where we can pick up points? Yes. Craig? No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not about giving the place a lift now. Forget the nostalgia. This is about, right, a person who can actually do the job you're asking for.
Okay.
Yeah, Eddie Newton can. Craig at the moment can't. At the moment, I hasten to add. In future, yes, but it's too big, it's too much responsibility. It's not like he can affect it on the pitch when he was playing. He can drive and affect people on the pitch then. This is a totally different field. Your players have got to respect you in the sense that you actually know what you're doing, and you know, this is working, we're picking up points playing this way, and
it's not always, but it's not always necessary. I mean, Monk completely contradicts all that. You know, he was a player. He was Premier League number one.
It's not. It doesn't contradict it.
He's a legend at the
club. It doesn't contradict it. You know what I mean? I can give you examples of managers like Gary Rowett doing well at Burton, going to Birmingham, and Birmingham above us now. Who would have said that 2 months ago? It can happen. The chances are Gary Rowett didn't have no experience at all and had gone straight into Birmingham. Would he have had the same uplift? I doubt it. Experience does count for something.
So for Bellas, your advice would be to go and get a job somewhere, go and cut your teeth.
Bellas, I spoke to Bellas last season. I know what Bellas is thinking, and right here, right now, I don't think Craig would go in there, and I don't think it'd be fair on putting someone that inexperienced in that position.
So here's the $1 million question then. You're Vincent Tan, you're the owner of Cardiff City. You've hired Russell Slade, who was your choice, and you know, fair enough, you're going to back him to a point. But in this situation, what would you do right now? What would your thinking be right now?
As the owner?
As the owner. You be the owner.
Are you hinting at should he be fired?
No. Would you bring in a number two? Would you just back him?
I would first and foremost. First and foremost, you're itching to get me to say that.
I'm not.
That's what he ever says every week. He's dying for Russell Slade to go, but won't say it.
I'm not.
He's saying to me, "Oh, will you fire him, sack him? Is there trouble?
Relieve him of his responsibility."
Why don't you write a piece saying Russell Slade?
P45, did you say? Just won't let it go.
This connection's terrible. I can't hear it.
At the end of the day, I think it was unfair to bring Russell in on his own. First and foremost, I think he's never gonna have the same input into the team as he would if he had a team with him. What he feels comfortable with. Giving him a team, you know, it's almost like you know, you've cut his legs from underneath him. Do you know what I mean? You're asking him to come into a club which is very problematic at the time in many different ways, and you're asking him to turn around everything on his own. Well, the least you do is say to him, right, what tools do you need to fix our problem? And he's going to say, well, I need my own coach, I need my so-and-so scientist, and I need my nutritionist. They're the team who come with me. We can put this right. Just like it did with Marky Mackay.
That's what Tony Pulis' demands.
Just like it did with Solskjaer. Do you know what I mean? Just like Tony Pulis has done. You can't say, right, come in, work with all these people you don't trust, you don't know, first time, and, you know, turn the ship around for us. Chances are, it's not going to happen.
So you're the owner.
It's more complicated than blasé.
So you're the owner, the manager comes to you on deadline day and says, I want an attacking midfielder who would cost around $3.5 million.
I'd say that we need more than that right now.
Well, I mean, it's the other thing, of course, is this thing that Slade is presiding over, this lowering of the wage. I mean, that's another thing that's tied another hand behind his back. You can talk about the stuff, but the fact, you know, you've got a guy who's basically being told you've got to cut 12 million off the wage bill, ship these guys out. Any movement in the, you know, after Mackay and Solskjaer, let's face it, were backed to the hilt. Suddenly the latest manager finds himself
doing the opposite.
You know, paying 100 grand for Scott Malone from from Millwall, rather
Basically
than
having
shopping
to
up
clean up the mess, isn't it?
You
The
know, forget
financial
Harrods, you're in Poundland, as we discussed. So
Hey,
that's another.
Poundland, I get my shower gel there.
You've got a lot of your clothes there.
So we're into deadline day. We've got to touch on it. The one name that's exciting everyone today is Australian international Massimo Luongo. What can you tell us about him?
Well, yeah.
What happened to Huth? He's gone to
Leicester. He turned up training for Leicester this morning.
I did think that was a bit of a
hopeful, wishful thinking.
Yeah, but
Luongo, well, yeah, you see, Australian David Beckham.
That's him.
Lighting up for high-flying Swindon in League One. Been out with Australia in the Asian Cup and was most valuable player of the tournament. So yeah, you know, he's really well sought after. Yeah, but reports suggesting that Cardiff have put a bid in for him that's been rejected.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we've got till 11 o'clock tonight. So
just, I don't know. Do you know what? I would say.
You look vexed.
No, I'm not vexed. I'm not vexed. I just think to myself, what is the process? What is the pattern behind our signings?
That's true.
What is
what
the
everyone's
process?
thinking.
Do we sit down and go, there's a list, there's 100 players on there, right? The criteria we're looking for is this, and this. Right. Anyone who's not won a championship in the last 5 years, 6 years, off they go. Anyone who's not over a certain age, off they go. International, yes or no? No. What is the criteria? We just seem to, Solskjaer. It was just like, just sign anybody. Yeah, because you're Man United legend, you can go back to Manchester United and you can get players there. Great. That means we're going to be successful. That just shows you the depth of knowledge at our club at the moment. Yeah, there's no like thought process goes into anything. It's just simply that'll work. Why? Because we got money. Well, like I've said before, money don't buy success.
Well, hang on, we haven't got money now.
No. Well, we have.
Yeah, here's the fact.
Whether you like it or not,
he's a billionaire on the
exactly.
I mean, you said that about Solskjaer. I mean, one thing you could say about Slade, whether you like it or not, you can see what his transfer policy is. You know, like Malone, Peltier, okay, tough, no nonsense. He always talked about he got leadership qualities. Peltier was captain at 2. I think Slade, in his defence, whether you agree or not, has got quite a defined.
But if he has made a bid for
so
this,
why are those players doing what they're signed to do?
Well, he needs some kind of creativity.
No, what I'm saying is, why don't the players you sign do what you signed them to do?
Well, I mean, let's face it. As far as Russell Siegel, they only just arrived. I mean, there were two guys making their debuts on the weekend. So, I mean, you've got to say a little bit. I mean, Scott Malone now. I mean, fair play. You'd have some. I don't think he's been hitting the heights too much. So and Alex Ravel again as well, as we talked about with Kenwyn Jones. So I'm not saying these are great signings, but you were saying what's the philosophy of our signings at the club? I believe Russell Slade has actually got one, and it's for these hard-working, industrious guys with experience at championship level.
So Keith has just come in and said the breaking news at the moment is Cardiff are now favourites to sign Chesterfield striker Owen Doyle. Now is that more of a name that would fit into this sort of Slade style of signing players?
I don't even want to think about that.
You're in the wrong place if you don't want to talk about it. I want to talk to you about Cardiff City. Sorry, I don't want to talk about it. You know?
Is this a guy you're familiar with?
I don't know a massive amount about it. What's his stats?
I look at, this is it. I'm looking at Tux. Tux is saying, it's the defined policy is, hard working, most players are hard working. That's how you become a professional. When I say defined, I mean around what philosophy are we basing our signings on? What is the general idea?
As in 1 minute you're going for the guy who's the MVP in the Asia Cup, the next minute you're going for a Chesterfield striker.
Correct, the Mondo.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and the other day is Robert Huth. And who else was it linked with alongside Robert Huth? Another Premier League player. There was 2 players.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, and now you're saying, this lad from Swindon, and then, this lad from Chesterfield. I'm like, really? You think that's a defined...
all from the same side or the same... I mean, when you say that, people sign different players from different abilities. You need a mixture. You can't just have what you're saying. Philosophy. What are they supposed to do? You need these tough guys. You need Stuart. Stuart O'Keefe brought in to add steel there. You need creative players like this Luangu or this Chesterfield striker.
Okay.
But Craig, you need a mix. A rich cocktail.
I think you're already.
But Craig asks a fair question. I mean, the players Slade's brought in, are they any better than what we had here in the first place?
No.
And that's the end of that.
They aren't.
So moving on.
How much he argues it, they're not.
Let's have a look at the Sheffield Wednesday game. I mean, you've sort of touched upon it, saying you think it's Keenan, the one after that, Brighton. I mean, are we seriously getting to the point now where they've got to go there and get something just for their own confidence? Or
yes, totally. I think they've got to go there.
Start picking up points.
They've got to start. I mean, picking up points is one thing. I wouldn't mind Sheffield Wednesday if they lost it 1-0, but you came away and said, "Blimey, God!" But at least they put a shift in. It was a late goal.
They've only got about 4 or 5 games you can say that about now, though.
No, yeah, not
down to 14 games.
But that one I could take.
You're at the point where you're saying, "Listen, they've got to get something."
Yes, no, yeah, I agree, but. Going then to the Brighton game, I think if you were coming off the back of at least... Because let's face it, right now, the performances are absolutely abysmal. They're shocking. They're all over the place. They look like a kind of like the Girl Guides 11 could turn up and beat them.
Hey, don't be dissing the Girl Guides, man.
I know, a good side. Sorry, no offence to the Girl Guides. But, I think if at Hillsborough, even if they come away without a point, but the performance has been a big step, suddenly O'Keefe starts and looks... and there's a shape about them. That would be a positive. Come on, you've got to look for positive somewhere. Going in then to then facing something like Brighton at home.
Well, to be fair, you said right at the start that it was an improvement Saturday from the cup
That's
game.
true. Yeah, and that's true. And I'll go along with that. They did look better in many ways, I think. And
is that because
it was Derby. Come on, that was Derby.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is that because? Yeah, but you also have to take into account what Derby are saying. And if you listen to what Steve McLaren said, he was actually quite vexed at the fact that he felt his team just didn't perform second half. They kind of just went through the motions, he was kind of saying.
Yeah, look,
it was too easy for them.
They're still a class act,
That's what I'm saying. It was too easy for them. So what I'm saying is, when you give your analysis on they were better, you can't just say, Cardiff were better, because they outplayed Derby. Is it a case that they outplayed Derby, or did Derby take the foot off the gas and go, this is so easy?
I don't think you could say they outplayed Derby at any point in the game,
right,
to be fair.
Right. So,
but I just think anyone who witnessed the second half against Reading, I know it was the Cup, that was such a... and let's be honest, actually, they had to be better.
What was the first half?
If they just turning up would have made them better, surely.
This is kind of what I'm getting at, is you say they improve slightly on that, still get booed off, still get the opposition manager saying, "Watch out, boys, you could be relegated." I mean, will we get that again next week if they lose again? But
that's exactly the point I'm making, is that we're looking at the Sheffield Wednesday game. I think if they go there, I mean, I want them to win it. I want them points. Crikey, I know they need the points. But I'm just saying, that game in particular, the Brighton game's a different thing. But if they can go to Hillsborough and perform better, be tougher to break down, and you watch it and say, right, I can see what he's trying to do here. This is happening. O'Keefe's playing here. They're having this. Ken win, whatever. If you can see another improvement forward, and they lose, I would be at a certain amount of contentment.
Well, I guess progress is not getting booed off and not having the opposition manager saying you're going down. That's a start.
If Sheffield do it if Wednesday do them at a canter, then you're worried, and then you've got Brighton arriving. And in Cardiff on a Tuesday night, and you're nervous, and you're fragile, and you're feeling very vulnerable.
Because they play good football, that's the worry. It's those teams who play, even though Brighton and below us are struggling, they can pass it.
Oh, they were superb against Cardiff,
right? They can pop it, and that's the worrying thing for me.
They took Cardiff apart in a 0-0 draw.
And that's the worrying thing for me is when you say performance, for me, I don't think we've got time in 18 games to say expect the level of performance now to go that increased where you're actually dominating possession and all that.
Oh, no, God, crikey, don't get me wrong, I'm not even suggesting...
No, I know you're not.
I'm talking about them just being regimented and tough to break that. I'm not going to sit there and go, like, wow, look at that, and passing people off the park. To chase. I'm not about that. I'm not about improving the sense
we
that
look like we're not going to get beat.
Yeah, they look like they're not just going to open up like a flaming, like they blow over like a pack of cards. I'm just talking about...
That is almost a starting point for them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think you're right. And to be honest, everyone agrees with that. I mean, it's been one of the big talking points of the week, Steve, and a lot of people seem to be asking about it. What happened in that press conference?
Yes, Stephen. Come on, man. You weren't there with our old mate.
Oh, goodness. I mean, he was just... well, I think, I mean...
No, just give us word for word.
Well, I can't really, I mean, Russell Slade, I think most people have seen it, but I mean, Russell Slade, I mean...
I couldn't find it.
He's obviously under pressure. I mean, you said, you said good he's under pressure, he has to be under pressure, he is under pressure.
Football, you're always under pressure.
But, Blakey, I worry a little that he's a little bit too under pressure. I like working under pressure, I don't like, my head exploding with pressure, and I think... The way Russell Slade conducted himself in that press conference, I thought showed that he was not coping with the pressure very well. I mean, he wasn't... People are saying he was some kind of intense grilling. It wasn't some kind of... It was just legitimate questions. In fact, the question that he finally said, that's it, I don't want to, and I'm not listening to this, had actually already been asked earlier in a form, and I thought that he was foolish in the things that he said, and probably regrets it.
He ain't giving nothing away, is he?
I would imagine. I mean, I'm not. I don't. The problem is because he was. If it had been me, if it was me, it had been directed. I would
what was the question? What was the question?
No, the question itself was just something like when you first arrived here, supporters, you had to win supporters over. Do you think performances recently have taken a step back slightly in that winning over process? That was it. I mean, he brought up some stuff about... Russell Slade himself brought up all talk about Middlesbrough and that. All I'd say, if he directed it at me, I would quite willingly say this happened, but I think the guy that is involved in it, if he wants to talk about it, should talk about it himself.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to speak for one of my colleagues on it. I think they're quite capable of talking about it himself.
And let's be fair.
If he wasn't on a day off.
Let's be fair to Russell. Let's be fair to Russell Slade.
Somewhere.
Everywhere he looks, if he watched this show now, if he looked on Wales Online, if he looked on Facebook, Twitter, if he looked anywhere at the moment, all he's going to see...
It's all bad news.
...is bad news.
It's very hard to find supporters. You could go out, if you went out on the street, vox popping Cardiff fans out in Cardiff City Centre today and say, what kind of job do you think Russell Slade's doing? I would say you wouldn't come across any... There would be nobody I think he's doing a fantastic job. There would be nobody. There might be your odd kind of like, well, he needs time. I often think as well, one problem with social media is... As journalists nowadays, we take a lot from social media in the sense, not just nicking stories, because that happens, but in the sense of gauging opinion. You do. And I think sometimes you get a bit of a skewed view of it. Because if you hate him, you're going to go on there going, I hate this guy, he's rubbish, get him sacked. If you're a bit nonplussed about it, you're probably
I don't really care about that.
You're not going to go, I actually think he should have a bit more time. So I think that the social media, but certainly I think if you were to go out and gauge opinion on the street of your average fan, I think most people are very, very deeply unimpressed.
I remember being sat there very just before Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got the sack, and you were talking about the hysterical reaction to it. It was a defeat against Norwich, I think, and that hysterical reaction eventually got him the sack. And we're back, we're not even that far, only a few months on, and we're there again.
You got a problem with Russell Slade? I mean, what do you want to do? I mean, Blakey you said to him, if you're the owner, what do you do? And the elephant in the room is, if they lose, say they lose at Sheffield Wednesday, they lose against Brighton, and they're 4 points off the bottom, with 16 games left. Do you stick or twist, as Blakey might often, one of his favourite expressions? Do you suddenly go, hang on a minute, this guy's going to take us to... and get him out. You could. It's feasible. I mean, you know, Stuart Pearce just gone at Forest on a similar run of form. So, I mean, that is the elephant in the room. Or do you? Or do you say, right, you go and do it? And then the question to be asked then is, say they're 18th or whatever, they finish the season. Do you keep him in the summer?
Oh yeah, do you have another go?
Do you give him more money or whatever, or another transfer window and say, right, okay, build for life in the Championship next season, even though you didn't cover yourself in glory in the last one? I mean, there's a lot of questions to be asked. I know there's a lot of calls for for Slade to be sacked out there, but as I said, it's hysteria on social media.
A rare call for Carl.
And then you've got to think as well. Opinion.
No, let's go crazy.
think where opinion was when Russell first came in. When he first came in, he was always going to struggle to win over the fans because they wanted a bigger name, and the Tony Pulis effect was out there, big style, right? So that was always going to be a struggle for Russell. But then 5 home wins, okay, 5 losses away from home, but the 5 home wins, you know, I remember Touchy saying, like, a steady ship where, you know, things have settled down, he's got his squad, and yeah, we were saying, yeah, okay, I can see where he's working from now. He's giving himself a good base to work from. Then all of a sudden, it's just gone into meltdown modes. You know, I'll swap this player, back four swapping, midfield swapping, wingers swapping, centre forward swap. And it's just like, whoa, just stay with your convictions, have that courage, stay with your convictions, don't worry, don't try and chase. You know, sometimes you have to understand that coming in, setting up your team, and how sometimes things get worse before they get better. That often happens. Do you know what I mean? It's not always the uplift and away you go. You know what I mean? That tends to be a trend in football. If you get a new manager, especially if it's a big name, you tend to uplift. It didn't happen for us under Solskjaer. Yeah. That never happened. No. Yeah, he won the Newcastle game in the cup, and everyone thought, wow, and then it just went boom. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So you're getting a manager who's managed from the lower league in. Don't worry if you don't get the uplift. Just give it time to transition. But I think during the transition, because the results now have gone away, now it's like it's like
classic, you know, what you say, Blake.
Finger in the dike. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
finger in the dike is a whole I'll plug it.
The problem is when he first arrived, people's, you know, the big criticism you got, if you look back, was this job's too big for him. The division's too much for him. People who said that, I'll be saying, I told you so.
Yep,
I told you so. Look, he hasn't got it, and that's the way it is.
Well, very quickly before we get predictions, something's just dawned upon me, and James has got involved and said, could anyone leave today? He mentions Craig Noon and Ken Wyn-Jones, and we hadn't really touched upon it.
Well,
but
we're told
if you're saving cash,
we're told no.
Nobody.
Slade himself said no. You know, not to my knowledge, which doesn't fill you with great confidence, as he is the manager. But we're told no. No.
If you get a bit of £1 million for Ken Wyn-Jones, Blakey, do you cash in?
No chance.
Me personally, no. I wouldn't cash in, but you know, in the situation,
you might just be taking the goals out.
But but in the situation he's in right now, he's not first choice, is he? So he might say, well, whether you like it or not, I want out. Yeah, because even if you turn around and do start playing me, I'm not putting in for you. You're taking the mick out of me.
And would the owner not like to get him off the wage bill in that case?
There you go.
Costs?
There you go. But it's
that really would put the cat amongst the pigeons.
The thing I don't understand the most confusing thing to me is the owner knows he wants to get the club, and it has been his ambition to go Premier League and become an established Premier League club. Yeah. Yeah. I thought for probably at least 6-7 months they had probably 8 or 10 players that they could have just done away with anyway. Where that cut come from, which players, you know, that's down to the man in charge. But they had 8 or 10 players over and above what they needed. So I felt they're probably spending $10 million a year on wages that they didn't need to hand out. So if you cut that, get your squad down to like 22, 23, plus your under 21 squad, because that's something else you need to utilise far greater than they do. Your under 21 squad. I felt like that would give you a good mix of youth and experience right throughout to be able to like, go and have a serious challenge And if you notice the teams at the top, yeah, a few of them have signed, but what they've done, they mix the youth, and a lot of players who ain't really seen as superstars with a few up-and-coming new young names who are becoming little superstars. They're mixing and matching and getting results. And I think in the Championship, it's as important to develop those youth players coming through as it is to buy that experienced player. Because if you can match them together and fit it, you know, the youth players give you the legs and the exuberance and everything, and the experience gives you exactly that.
But he's got Joe Rowles, who's a player Slade likes, but then he's gone in and signed another central midfielder, you know, reportedly looking at another one. And
well, you just think to yourself, like, you know, you're on the verge of first team. As soon as O'Keefe comes in, you go back a place. No matter how you like it. If you're 21 now, you're thinking to yourself, I've got no chance of getting in as a midfielder right now.
But the thing is, we said it, Slade said it himself about Derby. Came so close last season, pretty much the same, kept the play together. People, the manager's been there, the group of the core of the players have been together for a long time. Same with Bournemouth. That's where you know, I mean, it's not rocket science. That's where you get success, isn't it? You know, when you've got that group of Cardiff flailing around like a drowning man.
Remember,
literally, like looking.
Can you
for
remember we
something to grab
said you
onto?
keep changing your manager? What happens is every time you change the manager, he wants a new influx of players.
But everyone wants him fired.
And
now,
you know,
so
and that's what happens.
I'm not saying everyone, but I'm saying a vocal minority.
You get into that downward spiral. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hence why I always say to you guys, I don't call for managers' heads. I believe whoever's a manager, if you see in the game right, you should be able to repair certain things.
So you're saying, say they got done 3-0 at Sheffield Wednesday.
Hey, it's easy for me to stand up and say,
hang on, one minute.
No,
just a hypothetical situation.
No, because we're not in a hypothetical situation. We've got the perfect situation to choose from. Like I said to you, if your opinion is that Russell Slade should go, say so.
No, that's not my opinion. I'm just trying to gauge your opinion. I'm not. You're putting words in my mouth. I'm not saying that.
No, because it's not nice, is it? When someone tries to start leading you into trying to get. I'm too clever for that,
You're making
mate.
me feel guilty.
Well, so you should. So you should. I know exactly where your question's going.
No, I'm just saying.
Because I always say it's easy to say sack, 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 but actually you keep sacking and you get into a situation like Nottingham Forest will find themselves now. Yeah. Like a dog chasing his tail. You keep chasing and chasing.
Well, that's what
and chasing.
Cardiff are becoming.
Fulham had it. Keep chasing and chasing. Now Kit's in there and settle things down. Okay, you're not in the top 6, but you might have to take your, you know,
let's just stay.
You might have to take your licks for a couple of months and you know, rebuild. It's not every season you're going to be successful. It's all right to think automatically we come down so we go back up. But I said the mentality to go back up is massive. So it takes a lot.
So they finish 18.
It's easy for us to go sack the manager, sack the manager. There's so many things that you can change and adjust. We can give suggestions that a manager might pick them and think, which I think he often has, watched this programme and gone, oh, I'll try a bit of that, or I'll try a bit of that.
No wonder we're in such a disastrous thing.
Really.
He's not watching this, is he?
Really?
Russell, stop watching this and get to your own life. We don't know what the hell we're on about.
No.
No wonder you're not trying to blame us for this.
No, what I'm saying is, you know, Tux is trying to make a joke of it because Tux is in a position where he should be giving his true opinion, but he's actually not.
I am giving my true opinion. I think.
He's trying to get you to do
it. Exactly right.
You want to hear my true opinion?
And I won't, yeah, because I don't, because I believe that Russell Slade, if he does certain things, makes a decision on whether, like I said, you're going to press up high or sit back. Go and work on it. Don't care if the players don't like it. You might have to work on your shape every day. Something like Tony Pulis does do, and it is.
It's working now, isn't it?
Oh, it's horrible though, but it gets results, you know.
Of course it does.
You might have to go there. So, what do you think, Tux? Should he
give him time?
Go.
Give him time. We certainly need stability. We are in danger. Cardiff are in danger of exactly you said about, you know, Forest hiring and firing culture.
Well, yeah,
we're on it.
Exactly.
We're in it now. And so there has to be some form of stability.
Let's look ahead to Saturday then. Sheffield Wednesday away. It just seems like such a toughie all of a sudden, doesn't it? Predictions?
Everything seems
Can we get any kind of positive prediction this week?
Yeah, 1-1 draw. Ken win.
How's that? Well, come from behind or?
Oh, crikey, what do you want? Goal time?
I'm just trying to think. How you see that going?
If I knew what I was on about, I wouldn't be here. I'd be down the bookies. Let's look on the positive. 1-1 draw. Ken win, because I think he'll bring Ken win back in, because I think he'll be stung by the.
Well, you see the pressure from the boot room.
Having watched this show, he'll be thinking, "Hang on, and Blake, you think I better put Ken win?"
I said he watches the show and makes decisions off the back of it. There you go. They're just admitting it.
Now I'm even more nervous about the whole thing. He's surely not listening to an idiot like me, is he, at all? I really hope not. But no, okay, 1-1.
He should.
He should. 1-1, Ken Wyn-Jones. I'm not sure he'll go. Hopefully they'll come back, and that would be a morale.
That'll be good.
But as I said to you earlier, Gaz, just be looking for not like, my goodness, wow. Look at them, wow! It's like
even if we, listen, even if, like I say,
just hard
even if we
to break down. 0-0,
Sheffield Wednesday, innit?
I tell you what, guys, 0-0 would suit me down to the ground.
Even if they had 25% possession, yeah, I wouldn't be bothered if we had to beat. Yeah, we need a starting point. You want to get to that where you've got the ball more on the opposition, because, you know, you got more energy that way. You don't get as tired.
I was at Southampton Swansea yesterday, and Swansea, I mean, defensively, Southampton had all the possession, all the first half in particular, and Swansea were just like, you know, rigid. I'd love to see. I'm not talking about the flair, because you know, I know they're different group, but just they were so. I mean, with Ashley Williams in there, they were so tough to break down.
Thanks, Steve. That's quite enough of that. Anyway,
your
prediction.
You can't go on I've gone mad. I was impressed. Well, I said 1-1, didn't I?
Yeah.
My Swansea hat on.
You might
live to regret that.
I think you. I wasn't going to say a word.
Cliff out there is going to give me a bad one.
Keep going and going and going and going.
Well, all I'm saying is I'd like a bit of that rigidity.
Without mentioning Swansea, Blakey, can you give us a prediction for Saturday?
Prediction: Sheffield Wednesday.
They're doing all right. Only 7th or something.
Cardiff hat on or off?
I said on last week, so we go off this week. So you went for 3-0 Cardiff.
Okay, off. Cardiff hat off. I'll go. I think we'll struggle. I think we will. I think we'll struggle. So I'd go probably 2-0, 2-1 to Sheffield Wednesday. You know.
Okay, hopefully it'll be more positive than that. And you keep up to date with all the deadline day news today on Wales Online, and look ahead to that game at Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week.